Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars ahead when the alarm started screaming. His coffee cup hit the floor as red lights flashed across every screen and console. The massive colony ship carried 50,000 people toward their new home in the Kepler system, but something was very wrong. "Captain, we have multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace all around us," shouted Lieutenant Peters from his position at the tactical station. Jake moved quickly to the main display, where dozens of alien ships appeared like angry wasps surrounding his vessel. The ships were long and dark, with strange curves that hurt human eyes to look at directly. "Are they responding to our hails?" Jake asked while his hands moved over the communication controls. The New Horizon was a peaceful colony ship with families and children aboard. They had weapons, but nothing that could fight this many enemy vessels at once. "Negative, sir. They are jamming all frequencies except one." "Incoming transmission now," Peters replied as the main screen flickered and changed. An alien face appeared. That looked like a cross between an insect and a reptile. Its eyes were black pools, and its mouth moved in ways that made Jake feel sick. "Human vessel, you will prepare for immediate inspection. Any resistance will result in your destruction." "You have 5 minutes to comply," the alien said in perfect English, before the transmission ended. Jake felt his blood turn cold as he realized they had no choice but to surrender. Down in the civilian quarters, Lisa Park was reading bedtime stories to a group of children when the ship shuddered and stopped moving. The kids looked scared as emergency lighting came on and cast strange shadows on the walls. Amy Chun, who was 12 years old, grabbed Lisa's hand and asked what was happening. "Just some engine trouble, sweetie." "Nothing to worry about," Lisa lied while her heart pounded. In her chest, she had been a ship's doctor for 15 years and knew the difference between engine problems and something much worse. The way the ship had stopped felt like they were being held by tractor beams, not in another part of the ship. 14-year-old Ben Rodriguez was in the pilot training simulator when everything went dark. He was the best student pilot on the ship and dreamed of flying real spacecraft someday. When the emergency power came on, he could hear adults talking in worried voices outside the training room. 10-year-old Katie Wells was in the ship's library memorizing star charts when she felt the ship shake. Katie had a special memory that let her remember everything she ever saw or heard. She noticed that the shaking pattern was not random, but followed a specific rhythm, like some kind of signal or code. Commander Alex Turner ran through the corridors toward the docking bays where alien soldiers were already boarding the ship. He led the security team, but their weapons were no match for the advanced alien technology. The enemy soldiers wore armor that seemed to bend light around them and carried weapons that glowed with deadly energy. All security teams fall back to defensive positions around the civilian areas. Alex ordered into his radio. He knew they could. Not win a straight fight, but maybe they could protect the families and children until help arrived. The problem was that help might be weeks away, and these aliens looked like they meant business. The alien boarding party moved through the ship, like they knew exactly where they were going. Their leader was a tall creature with 4 arms and skin that changed colors as it moved. Supreme Counselor Vic Starr had planned this operation for months and was pleased that everything was going according to schedule. Begin deployment of the sleep gas in sections 12 through 18. Vextar ordered his soldiers in their clicking alien language. Remember, we only need the young humans alive. The adults can be subdued, but the children must not be harmed. They are our ticket to controlling human expansion in this sector. The gas began flowing through the ship's air system in the areas where families lived. Most adults breathed the alien chemical and fell unconscious within minutes. But something unexpected happened that the aliens had not planned for. Many of the human children stayed awake longer because their smaller bodies processed the gas differently Amy Chun felt dizzy and sick, but forced herself to stay, conscious as she watched alien soldiers enter the family quarters. She saw them checking each person who had fallen asleep and taking notes on small devices. When they found children who were still awake, they used different gas masks that made the kids fall asleep more slowly. Ben Rodriguez tried to hide in the pilot training room, but alien sensors found him easily. As the strange gas made his vision blur, he heard the aliens talking about taking him to some kind of facility. He tried to fight, but his arms and legs would not obey his commands as sleep took over. Katie Wells used her perfect memory to count exactly 47 children being carried away by the alien soldiers before the gas finally made her fall asleep. Even as consciousness faded, she kept repeating the number in her mind and tried to remember every detail of the aliens. Faces and equipment. Captain Jake Morrison watched helplessly from the bridge as his people were attacked. The aliens had somehow gotten past all their defenses and security systems, like they knew exactly how human ships were built. When he tried to send a distress signal, the enemy jammed all communications except for one channel. Human captain, your vessel will not be destroyed, but 47 of your young have been relocated for their safety, came the cold alien voice over the radio. They will be well cared for in our facilities while we discuss the future of human expansion in contested space. Any attempt at rescue will result in their immediate termination. The alien ships began moving away from the new horizon, taking the children with them toward an unknown destination. Jake felt rage building in his chest as he realized what had happened. These creatures had come aboard his ship and stolen human children like they were cargo to be traded. Dr. Lisa Park woke up hours later with a terrible headache and immediately began checking on the families. Parents were crying and screaming as they realized their children were gone. She tried to calm them down, but felt her own heart breaking as she counted the missing kids. 47 children between the ages of 8 and 16 had been taken. Commander Alex Turner's security teams searched every part of the ship, but found no trace of the missing children. The aliens had been precise and professional in their operation, taking only what they wanted and leaving everything else untouched. It was clear they had planned this attack for a long time. The alien message continued broadcasting on repeat, telling the humans that their children would be returned safely if humanity agreed to withdraw from all disputed territories and limit their expansion into space. The price for the children's freedom was giving up humanity's future among the stars. On a cold moon called Zarian 7, the 47 human children woke up in a strange facility surrounded by alien guards. Amy Chun was the first to sit up and look around at their prison. The walls were smooth metal, and there were no windows to show what was outside. But she was not afraid, because she had already begun making plans. "Listen to me," Amy whispered to the other children as they slowly woke up. "They think we are just scared kids who will sit here and cry for our parents. They have no idea what humans are capable when you threaten our family. We are going to show them that taking human children was the biggest mistake they ever made." The detention facility on Zarian 7 was built like a maze of connected rooms and corridors. Supreme Counselor Vic Starr walked through the sterile hallways feeling very pleased with how the operation had gone. His species had evolved from creatures that lived in underground colonies where everyone followed strict rules and never questioned authority. He could not imagine that young beings of any species would behave differently. "The human juveniles are eating the food we provided and seem to be adapting to their environment," reported General Creethon as he followed Vextar through the facility. "Our behavioral specialists believe they will become compliant within a few days once they realize their situation is hopeless." The alien guards watching the children through hidden cameras saw what appeared to be normal scared behavior. Some kids were crying while others sat quietly in corners. A few were trying to comfort the younger ones by telling stories or sharing food. To alien eyes, this looked like the expected response of helpless captives. But the guards did not understand human children at all. What they saw as random crying was actually Amy Chun teaching the others a simple code using tears and sniffles to communicate without words. The quiet kids sitting in corners were Ben Rodriguez and his team mapping the room's layout by counting steps and measuring distances with their hands. Katie Wells appeared to be sleeping against a wall, but she was actually listening to every sound in the facility. Her perfect memory was recording guard shift changes and the patterns of footsteps in the corridors. She had already figured out that there were exactly 22 guards total, and they changed positions every 4 hours. The human adults on their ship sent several messages demanding the return of their young. Vexstar told his military commander as they reached the central control room. They threatened military action, but their fleet is weeks away from this system. By the time they arrive, we will have completed negotiations and returned the juveniles as heroes who helped prevent a war. The alien plan seemed perfect to their logical minds. Take hostages that humans valued most, then negotiate for territorial concessions while the human military was too far away to interfere. They had studied human behavior for years and believed they understood how these strange mammals would react to threats against their offspring. On Earth and dozens of colony worlds, the news of captured human children spread like wildfire through communication networks. Admiral Susan Blake received the emergency transmission while attending a routine fleet meeting on Mars. When she heard what had happened, her face went completely white, and every officer in the room knew that something terrible was about to begin. Activate Protocol 7 immediately, Admiral Blake ordered as she stood up from the conference table. I want every available ship prepared for combat operations and all special weapon systems brought online. Send messages to every human colony and military base. We have children to bring home. Protocol 7 was humanity's most secret military plan created for only the worst possible scenarios. It authorized the use of weapons and tactics that had been banned since the early days of human space expansion, when first contact with aliens had gone very badly. Most people hoped it would never be needed, but taking human children changed everything. Captain Jake Morrison paced the bridge of the New Horizon like a caged animal while his crew worked to repair the damage from the alien boarding action. The ship's communication systems had been sabotaged, but his engineers were slowly bringing them back online. When the first messages from Earth Central Command came through, Jake felt both relief and terror at what he read. Admiral Blake is mobilizing the entire human fleet, he told Commander Alex Turner, who stood beside him looking at the tactical displays. She wants detailed information about the alien ships that attacked us and any intelligence we gathered. During the boarding action, Dr. Lisa Park was having her own problems dealing with the parents of missing children. 47 families were demanding answers she did not have and threatening to take matters into their own hands. Some fathers had already started organizing armed groups to somehow rescue their kids, even though they had no ships or weapons that could fight alien technology. I know you want to help your children, but we have to trust the fleet to handle this situation, Lisa told a room full of angry parents. The best thing we can do right now is provide any information that might help the rescue operation. Did anyone notice anything unusual about the aliens or their equipment? Back on Zarian 7, the human children had been awake for 36 hours, and the alien guards were starting to notice strange behavior. The crying had stopped completely, and the kids were moving around their cells in organized patterns that looked almost like military drills. When guards approached to deliver food, the children would line up in perfect formation and speak in unison like trained soldiers. Amy Chun had taken charge of organizing the other kids into teams with specific jobs. Ben Rodriguez led the group that studied the guards and their equipment, while Katie Wells used her memory to teach everyone the layout of the facility. Even the youngest children had important roles to play in gathering information and preparing for what came next. Phase 2 starts tonight, Amy whispered to her team leaders during what the guards thought was nap time. Katie has memorized the guard schedule, and Ben found weak points in the door systems. When the shift changes at midnight, we make our move to the ventilation system. The alien behavioral specialists watching through cameras were confused by what they saw. Human juveniles were supposed to become more passive and dependent as time went on, but these ones seemed to be getting more organized and confident. Their reports to Supreme Counselor Vextar mentioned unusual group behavior that did not match any known patterns. Perhaps human young developed differently than our studies suggested, reported Dr. Z. Tall, the facility's chief behavioral expert. They appear to be forming complex social hierarchies and communication networks that are quite sophisticated for their age group. This may indicate higher intelligence than we initially calculated. General Cree then dismissed these concerns with a wave of his forearms. His military mind could not accept that children of any species could pose a real threat to trained soldiers with advanced weapons. The facility had been designed to hold dangerous adult prisoners and could easily contain a few dozen human juveniles, no matter how clever they thought they were. Meanwhile, in human space, Admiral Blake's fleet was growing larger, every day as ships arrived from colony worlds throughout the sector. The assembly point was a secret military base called Fort Anderson, hidden in an asteroid field where humanity's most advanced weapons were stored and tested. Ships that had been in mothballs for decades were being brought back into service with crews who volunteered for what everyone knew would be a dangerous mission. The alien transmission included coordinates for their home systems. Admiral Blake told her senior commanders during a briefing aboard her flagship. Intelligence suggests they have significant military forces, but nothing that should trouble a full human battle fleet. However, I want everyone to understand that we are not going there to negotiate or show mercy. We are going to bring our children home and make sure this never happens again. The human response was unlike anything the galaxy had seen since the early contact wars. Entire planetary defense fleets were being recalled to join the rescue mission, while civilian shipbuilders worked around the clock to produce new vessels. The message being sent to alien civilizations everywhere was clear: touch human children and face the consequences. Back in the detention facility, Amy Chun smiled as she heard the ventilation system's fans change speed. That was the signal that Ben Rodriguez had successfully accessed the facility's environmental controls. In a few hours, when the guards changed shifts, the temperature would drop just enough to make the aliens sluggish, while the human children remained alert and ready to act. Tomorrow we stop being prisoners, Amy told the other kids as they pretended to sleep. Tomorrow we show these aliens what happens when you mess with human families. And when our people come to get us, they are going to find that we have already won this fight. Admiral Susan Blake stood in the command center of her flagship, watching hundreds of human ships assemble in space around her. The fleet had grown to over 200 vessels in just 5 days as every available ship in human space rushed. Join the rescue mission. She had commanded fleets before, but never one with this much raw fury burning in the hearts of every crew member. Admiral, we are receiving priority transmissions from Galactic. Federation headquarters reported Commander Lisa Hayes from the communications station. They are demanding that we pursue diplomatic solutions and avoid military action that might destabilize the sector. Susan turned to look at the young officer with eyes that had gone completely cold. The Galactic Federation was the loose alliance of alien species that supposedly kept peace in this part of the galaxy. They had failed to protect human children, and now wanted to lecture humanity about proper responses to kidnapping. Tell the Federation that humanity is no longer interested in their diplomatic solutions, Susan replied in a voice that made everyone on the bridge feel a chill. Our children were taken by force and will be returned by force. Any alien government that objects to our methods is welcome to try stopping us on Zarian 7. The human children had been busy during the night shift when most of the alien guards were sleeping. Amy Chun crawled through ventilation ducts that were barely wide enough for a 12-year-old, while Ben Rodriguez and his team worked on the facility's computer systems. The aliens had made their security too complex, which meant there were more ways to break it. Katie Wells sat in her cell with her eyes closed, but her mind was perfectly focused on memorizing every sound and vibration in the building. Her gift for remembering everything meant she could create a complete map of the facility just from listening to footsteps and mechanical noises. She knew exactly where the guards were at all times and when they would be most vulnerable. The main computer. Core is behind that wall, Amy whispered to Ben as they met in a junction between air ducts. If we can get inside, I can download the facility schematics and transmit them to our fleet when they get here. But we need to create a distraction to draw the guards away from that section. The distraction came when 8-year-old Tommy Liu pretended to have a nightmare and started screaming in his cell. While guards rushed to check on him, the older kids slipped out of their cells through locks that Ben had quietly disabled hours earlier. The alien security system was designed for creatures that followed rules and never worked together without permission from authority figures. Supreme Counselor Vextar received the first reports of strange behavior from his guards while he was meeting with other members of the alien coalition. 3 different species had joined together to capture the human, children believing it would force humanity to abandon their expansion plans. Now those same species were starting to question whether the operation had been wise. The human juveniles are displaying unexpected organizational abilities, reported General Creathen during the emergency meeting. They have somehow managed to coordinate activities across multiple cells, and our behavioral specialists believe they may be planning some form of resistance. However, they are still just children with no weapons or means of escape, the other alien. Leaders shifted nervously in their seats as they listened to reports from their intelligence services. Human military forces were gathering in numbers that exceeded all predictions, and their communications were filled with references to ancient conflicts that most aliens had hoped were just myths and legends. Our historical research indicates that humans engaged in something called total warfare during their early expansion period, said Ambassador Krell of the Serpentine Empire. 3 alien civilizations went completely extinct, not from direct combat, but from psychological breakdown, after facing human military tactics. Perhaps we have made an error in judgment. Dr. Lisa Park aboard the New Horizon was working day and night to establish covert communication with the captured children. Using quantum encrypted signals hidden in routine medical monitoring broadcasts, she had managed to make contact with Amy Chun, who somehow had access to the detention facilities. Communication systems. The kids are not just surviving, they are actively gathering intelligence and preparing to help with their own rescue. Lisa reported to Captain Jake Morrison during their daily briefing. Amy has transmitted detailed floor plans of the facility and guard rotations. She says they have a plan to disable the base's defenses when our fleet arrives. Jake felt his heart filled with pride and terror as he realized what his ship's children were accomplishing. Human kids were supposed to be protected by adults, not forced to become soldiers and spies. But these children were showing the same courage and determination that had carried humanity to the stars in the first place. The breakthrough came when Amy Chun successfully accessed the facility's main computer while pretending to be sick in the medical bay. The alien doctor examining her had no idea that she was using a hidden device Ben had built from spare parts to hack into their most secure systems. Within minutes, she had downloaded terabytes of classified information about alien military capabilities and transmitted it all to Admiral Blake's fleet. "This intelligence is incredible," Admiral Blake told her senior staff as they studied the alien data. "These kids have provided us with complete tactical information about enemy ship designs, weapons, systems, and strategic plans. They have done more damage to alien security in 1 week than our spy networks accomplished in years." The children's success came at a cost as alien guards finally realized something was wrong. When they found Amy in the computer room, she did not try to run or hide. Instead, she looked directly at General Creathan and spoke words that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "You should have left us alone," Amy said with the calm confidence of someone much older. "Now my people are coming, and they are very angry. When they get here, you will understand why the galaxy used to be afraid of humans. We tried to be peaceful, but you hurt our children." The facility's alarms began screaming as more escape attempts were discovered throughout the building. What the guards had thought was random misbehavior was actually a coordinated campaign to map every weakness in there. Security. The human children had turned their prison into a research laboratory and themselves into intelligence agents. Katie Wells used her perfect memory to brief the other kids on everything she had learned about their captors. The aliens came from species that had never developed individual initiative or creative problem-solving. They followed orders from superiors and expected everyone else to do the same. This made them predictable and vulnerable to human tactics. "When our fleet gets here, the aliens will try to use us as human shields," Katie explained to the group. "But they do not understand that human children are taught to protect themselves and each other. We know our parents would rather see us fight and die free than live as prisoners." Ben Rodriguez had discovered something even more important while exploring the facility's computer networks. The alien coalition had not acted alone, but was following orders from a secret organization that wanted all humans removed from space entirely. The kidnapping was just the first step in a larger plan to destroy human civilization. "We have to get this information to Admiral Blake," Ben told Amy as they met in the ventilation system above the main corridor. "There are other alien fleets moving toward human colonies right now. Our people need to know that this is bigger than just rescuing us." The transmission went out using the facility's own communication array turned against its builders. Within hours, every human ship in space had received detailed intelligence about the conspiracy to eliminate humanity from the galaxy. The response was swift and deadly, as Admiral Blake realized they were not just rescuing children, but fighting for their species' survival. "All ships prepare for immediate departure," Admiral Blake ordered as her fleet reached full strength. "We have new intelligence indicating that human colonies are under threat throughout the sector. Our mission has expanded from rescue to total war. Any alien civilization that threatens human children or colonies will face complete destruction." The news spread through alien space like a plague as species that had remained neutral suddenly realized they might be caught in a conflict between humans and their enemies. Historical records that had been sealed for decades were opened, revealing the true extent of human military capabilities when their survival was threatened. On Zerion 7, Amy Chun smiled as she felt the facility shake from explosions in the distance. Admiral Blake's fleet had arrived in the system and begun their attack on alien military installations. The rescue of 47 human children was about to become a demonstration of why threatening humanity's future was the last mistake their enemies would ever make. "Get ready, everyone," Amy called to the other kids as they prepared for the final phase of their escape plan. "Our people are here, and they brought friends. It is time to show these aliens what human families do to anyone who tries to hurt our children." The space around Zerion 7 erupted in explosions of light as Admiral Blake's fleet dropped out of hyperspace like an avalanche of metal and fury. 200 human warships appeared in perfect formation, while alien defense satellites tried desperately to track targets that moved faster than their sensors could follow. The human rescue fleet had become something much more dangerous during the journey to save their children. General Creathen watched from the detention facilities command center as his carefully planned defenses crumbled under the human assault. Ships that should have been impossible to build were tearing through alien battle groups with weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Gravity-based projectiles punched through energy shields like they were made of paper, while swarms of tiny robots disabled entire vessels without destroying them. How is this possible? Creathen demanded, as his tactical officers reported impossible readings from their scanners. Human military technology was supposed to be decades behind ours. These weapons should not exist. The truth was that human military scientists had been working on theoretical projects for years without ever building the actual weapons. When Protocol 7 was activated, every secret research facility in human space began producing devices that had only existed in computer simulations. The alien attack on human children had unleashed technologies that were designed for wars humanity hoped never to fight. Amy Chun felt the building shake as Admiral Blake's ships began bombarding military targets across the moon's surface. But she was not waiting to be rescued like a helpless victim. While alien guards ran through the corridors in panic, she led her team of children toward the facility's main power core, where Ben Rodriguez was preparing to shut down the defensive shields. "Remember the plan," Amy called to the other kids as they moved through ventilation shafts and maintenance tunnels. "When the power goes down, we have 30 seconds to reach the hangar bay before the emergency systems come online. Katie will guide the younger children while Ben and I secure transportation." The alien guards had been trained to fight adult soldiers with standard weapons and tactics. They had no experience dealing with opponents who crawled through air ducts, used psychological warfare, and turned their own facility against them. When 10-year-old Megan Foster disabled a guard's breathing apparatus with a makeshift slingshot, the aliens began to realize they faced something beyond their understanding. Supreme Counselor Vexstar received reports from across the star system that painted a picture of complete military disaster. Human forces were not just defeating alien ships, but capturing them intact while leaving crews alive, but completely helpless. The psychological impact was devastating as veteran alien soldiers found themselves prisoners of enemies they had considered inferior. "The humans are demanding immediate surrender and return of their juveniles," reported his communications officer with barely controlled terror in his voice. "Their fleet commander says we have 15 minutes to comply, or they will demonstrate what they call total warfare protocols." The term total warfare sent waves of panic through alien command structures across the galaxy. Historical records from the Galactic Federation archives revealed that early human expansion had been stopped not by superior alien technology, but by agreements that certain human military tactics would never be used again. Now those agreements were void and humanity was angry. Dr. Lisa Park monitored the rescue operation from her position aboard the New Horizon while maintaining communication with the children inside the detention facility. The quantum encrypted link Amy had established was providing real-time intelligence that made the rescue operation proceed with impossible precision. Every guard position and security system was known to the attacking humans before they even entered the building. "The children have successfully disabled the facility's main power grid," Lisa reported to Captain Jake Morrison as they watched the tactical display. "Amy confirms that all 47 kids are safe and moving toward the extraction point. Our Marines should have them in custody within minutes, but the children had their own ideas about how the rescue should proceed. When human Marines breached the facility's outer walls, they found that Amy Chun and her team had already secured the hangar bay and captured several alien aircraft. The kids were not just waiting to be saved, but actively participating in their own liberation with a coordination that amazed their adult rescuers. Ben Rodriguez piloted a captured alien fighter with skill that should have been impossible for a 14-year-old human. His training on simulation equipment aboard the New Horizon had prepared him for basic flight operations, but the alien craft responded to his commands like he had been flying it for years. The machine seemed to understand his intentions and adapted its systems to work with human reflexes. Katie Wells used her perfect memory to guide Marine teams through the facility's complex layout while directing younger children to safety with the efficiency of a veteran officer. Her ability to remember every detail meant she could predict where alien guards would try to make their final stand and warn the rescue teams before they walked into ambushes. Target the command center, but avoid civilian areas. Amy transmitted to the human fleet as she accessed the facility's targeting computers. I am uploading precise coordinates for all strategic locations. The aliens have backup plans to destroy evidence of their activities, but I can prevent them from deleting their files. General Creathan made a desperate decision to use Amy Chun as a hostage to force the other children to surrender. When he cornered her in the computer center with his personal guards, he thought he had finally gained leverage over the human forces. Instead, he discovered that Amy had been waiting for exactly this opportunity to get close to the facility's most sensitive systems. You will order your people to cease their attack, or I will execute this juvenile immediately, Creathan announced over the facility's communication system. Human forces have 30 seconds to withdraw from this moon or watch their young die. Amy looked up at the alien general with eyes that held no fear at all. She had accessed files that revealed the full extent of the conspiracy against humanity and uploaded everything to Admiral Blake's fleet. Now she needed to buy time for the information to reach human command centers throughout the galaxy. You made a mistake taking human children, Amy said with calm certainty. My people do not negotiate with kidnappers, and they do not abandon their family. When this is over, your species will remember what happens to anyone who threatens human. Kids, we tried to be peaceful, but you chose war. The human response to Creathan's threat was swift and overwhelming. Instead of withdrawing, Admiral Blake ordered every ship in her fleet to target the detention facility with precision weapons that could remove specific rooms without damaging surrounding areas. The message was clear that humanity would rather risk their children's lives than submit to alien demands. You are insane, Creathan screamed, as human weapons began carving through the facility's walls around him. No species would risk killing their own young, rather than negotiate. Amy smiled as she activated the final sequence in her hack of the alien computer systems. You still do not understand humans at all. We do not leave anyone behind, and we do not forgive anyone who hurts our children. My parents would rather see me die fighting and live as your prisoner. The facility's communication array began broadcasting everything Amy had discovered about the alien conspiracy to eliminate humanity from space. Secret meetings between species, leaders' plans to attack human colonies, and agreements to divide human territory were transmitted across the galaxy on every available frequency. The political firestorm that followed would reshape interstellar diplomacy for generations. Human Marine teams reached the command center just as Amy disabled the facility's self-destruct system and opened all security doors simultaneously. Alien guards found themselves surrounded by enemies who seemed to know their every move, while their own weapons failed to function properly. The children they had captured had turned their prison into a trap for its builders. Hostiles neutralized all children accounted for, reported Marine Captain Steve Parker as his team secured the facility. The kids did most of our work for us, Admiral. They mapped every security system, compromised the guards, and gathered enough intelligence to keep our analysts busy for years. Admiral Blake received the final transmission from Amy Chun as human. Forces completed their takeover of the detention facility. The young girl had not only survived her captivity, but turned it into the greatest intelligence coup in human history. Her discoveries about the alien conspiracy would justify military actions that might otherwise have been considered excessive. "Ma'am, we are receiving surrender offers from every alien military unit in the system," reported Commander Hayes from the Fleet Communications Station. "They are requesting mercy and promising to withdraw from all human territory immediately." Susan Blake looked at the tactical display showing alien ships fleeing in every direction, while human forces maintained perfect formation around Zarion. 7. The rescue mission had become a demonstration of human military superiority that would echo through the galaxy for decades to come. The transport ship carrying 47 human children docked with Admiral Blake's flagship while celebration signals flashed between hundreds of vessels in the human fleet. Every child was safe and healthy, but they were no longer the same kids who had been captured a week earlier. Amy Chun walked off the transport like a veteran intelligence officer, while Ben Rodriguez carried data chips containing alien military secrets, and Katie Wells had memorized enough classified information to fill entire libraries. "Welcome home, kids," Admiral Blake said as she personally greeted each child in the docking bay. "Your families are waiting, and the entire human fleet is proud of what you accomplished. You did not just survive captivity, you turned it into victory. But the rescue is only the beginning of humanity's response to the alien conspiracy." The intelligence Amy had gathered revealed that the kidnapping was part of a larger plan called the Human Containment Protocol, designed to eliminate human expansion into space permanently. Secret meetings between dozens of alien species had plotted the destruction of human colonies and the forced relocation of humanity back to Earth. Dr. Lisa Park examined each child as they returned to the new horizon, but found that their experience had changed them in ways that medical scanners could not measure. They spoke with the confidence of adults and moved with military precision that seemed natural rather than learned. The aliens had tried to break human children and instead created something much more dangerous. "The kids are physically fine, but psychologically they have matured years in just 1 week," Lisa reported to Captain Jake Morrison as they watched the children reunite with their parents. "They experienced something that most adults never face and came through it stronger than before. I think we are looking at the future leaders of human space." Supreme Counselor Vexstar sat in a detention cell aboard a human ship, watching his empire collapse through a small window. His species had ruled 3-star systems for over 1,000 years, but that civilization was ending as human forces systematically dismantled every government facility and military base in Zephyrian space. The humans were not destroying alien cities or killing civilians, but they were making it clear that resistance was impossible. "You have 5 hours to evacuate your remaining population to the sanctuary worlds we have prepared," Admiral Blake told him during their only meeting. "Your species will be relocated to planets suitable for your biology under human protection. Your government and military no longer exist, but your people will live." The human approach to victory confused alien observers who expected massacre and destruction. Instead, human forces provided food, medical care, and transportation to evacuate entire populations, while their military installations were carefully dismantled and their weapons destroyed. It was conquest without cruelty, but the message was unmistakable. That resistance would bring complete elimination. General Creathan faced a different fate as the alien officer directly responsible for threatening Amy Chun. Human military justice was swift and final when it came to crimes against children. He was tried, convicted, and executed within 72 hours of his capture, while the galaxy watched and learned what happened to anyone who harmed human kids. The political shock waves from the alien conspiracy reached every corner of known space, as species that had remained neutral suddenly realized they might be targets of human retaliation. The Galactic Federation held emergency sessions to distance themselves from the human containment protocol, while offering to help prosecute any species involved in the conspiracy. "We had no knowledge of these secret plans," declared Federation Chancellor Weems during a broadcast to every inhabited world. "The attack on human children violated every treaty and law that governs civilized behavior. The Federation stands with humanity in demanding justice for this crime." But humanity was no longer interested in Federation justice or alien promises. Admiral Blake established military zones around every human colony and declared that alien ships would need special permission to enter human space. The message was clear that humanity would protect itself without depending on alien governments that had failed to prevent the kidnapping. Amy Chun became the youngest person ever to address the Human Colonial Council when she presented her intelligence findings to the leaders of human space. Standing before admirals and planetary governors, she spoke with the authority of someone who had seen the enemy's true intentions and survived their worst efforts. "They plan to eliminate every human colony and force our species back to Earth," Amy reported to the packed council chamber. "The kidnapping was just the first step in a campaign to destroy human civilization. We cannot trust alien governments to protect us, because many of them were part of the conspiracy." The council's response was to approve the largest military expansion in human history, while authorizing the construction of new types of weapons that would ensure no alien force could threaten human territory again. Colony worlds that had depended on Federation protection began building their own defense fleets with technology shared from the most advanced human research facilities. Ben Rodriguez found himself recruited by the Space Force Academy at age 14. After demonstrating his ability to pilot alien spacecraft better than trained pilots twice his age, his experience fighting for survival in an enemy facility had taught him lessons about tactics and leadership that could not be learned in any classroom. "The aliens thought we were weak because we were young," Ben told his first class of adult officers during training exercises. "They could not understand that human children are taught to think for themselves and work together. That made us more dangerous than they could imagine." Katie Wells became the Federation's youngest expert on alien psychology after her perfect memory provided detailed behavioral profiles of every species involved in the conspiracy. Her insights helped human negotiators understand alien thinking patterns and predict their responses to human diplomatic pressure. The Kepler system, where the New Horizon had been headed, became humanity's most heavily fortified colony after Captain Jake Morrison completed his mission with a military escort of 50 warships. The new settlement was named Freedom Colony and became a symbol of humanity's determination to expand into space despite alien opposition. "Our children showed us that humans do not break under pressure," Jake told the first colonists as they established their new homes. "They turned captivity into victory and proved that no alien force can stop human families from reaching for the stars." 5 years after the rescue operation, Amy Chun graduated from the Space Force Academy as the youngest officer in human history. Her specialization in xenopsychology and intelligence operations made her one of the most valuable assets in human space as tensions with remaining alien governments continued to simmer. Ben Rodriguez led the first all-human exploration mission beyond the edge of known space piloting ships equipped with technology reverse-engineered from captured alien vessels. His team discovered 3 new star systems suitable for human colonization, while establishing that humanity no longer needed alien permission to expand wherever they chose. Katie Wells worked with reformed Federation officials to create new laws, protecting the children of all species from being used as hostages or political pawns. Her perfect memory of the conspiracy trials helped establish legal precedents that would govern interstellar relations for generations. Supreme Counselor Vextar spent his final years on a reservation world studying human behavior and trying to understand how his species had so completely misjudged their opponents. His research became required reading for alien diplomats who wanted to avoid repeating his catastrophic mistakes. The memorial, built on Xerion 7, listed the names of all 47 children who had been captured and included a simple message that every alien visitor was required to read. They were just children. We are their guardians. Remember this. Dia Lisa Park established counseling programs for human children throughout the colonies to help them develop the same courage and resourcefulness that had saved the Xerion 7 kids. Her work ensured that future generations of humans would be prepared to protect themselves and their families no matter what challenges they faced among the stars. The detention facility, where the children had been held, became a training center for human intelligence officers who studied the tactics Amy and her team had used to turn captivity into victory. Every lesson learned from their experience was preserved to help future humans survive similar situations. Admiral Blake retired from active duty, but remained as an advisor to the Human Defense Council, where her experience planning the rescue operation influenced military strategy throughout human space. Her tactics became the standard for how humanity would respond to any future threats against their children or colonies. The galaxy learned to fear and respect human families as the ultimate force in interstellar politics. Species that had considered humans to be minor players in galactic affairs suddenly realized they faced opponents who would sacrifice everything to protect their young and expand their territory.